First contact. The vast expanse of space stretched endlessly before the Zarkonian exploration vessel, Starweaver. Its sleek, bioluminescent hull pulsed with a soft blue glow as it glided silently through the cosmic void. Captain Elazar stood at the helm, her four eyes scanning the holographic displays that surrounded her. The ship had been on its mission for what the humans would consider years, searching for signs of intelligent life in this unexplored sector of the galaxy. "Captain," called out Science Officer Krelthin, his tentacles dancing over the sensor controls. "I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from a nearby solar system." Elazar's antenna twitched with interest. "On screen," she commanded, her voice a melodious hum. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a small blue and green planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. But what caught Elazar's attention were the artificial satellites encircling the world and the radio waves emanating from its surface. "Fascinating," Elazar breathed. "It seems we found a developing civilization." Krelthin analyzed their level of technological advancement. As the science officer worked, Elazar felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. The Zarkonian collective had encountered other species before, but first contact was always a delicate affair. Their mission was one of peace and scientific discovery, yet they had learned that not all species shared their benevolent intentions. "Captain," Krelthin reported, "their technology appears to be in its early stages of space exploration. They have achieved nuclear fission and have rudimentary computer systems. However, their advancements are erratic. Some areas of technology are surprisingly advanced, while others lag behind." Elazar pondered this information. "Interesting. Perhaps they prioritize different areas of research than we do. Helm, take us into orbit, but engage our cloaking field. We'll observe for now." As the Starweaver entered orbit around Earth, the crew watched in fascination as the planet's details came into focus. Cities sprawled across continents, lights twinkling in the night side of the planet. Vast oceans teemed with life, and weather patterns swirled in the atmosphere. "Captain," the communications officer, Vexera, suddenly called out, her voice tinged with alarm. "I'm detecting a surge of communications activity from the planet's surface. I believe they've detected us despite our cloaking field." Elazar's exoskeleton rippled with surprise. "Impossible. Our cloaking technology is far beyond their capabilities." "Nevertheless," Vexera insisted, "they seem to be aware of our presence. They're attempting to hail us on multiple frequencies." For a moment, Elazar was at a loss. This was unprecedented. No species at this level of development should have been able to penetrate their cloaking field. It defied all logic and expectations. "Very well," she finally decided. "If they know we're here, there's no point in hiding. Disengage the cloak and open a channel. Let's meet our new neighbors." As the Starweaver shimmered into visibility above Earth, chaos erupted on the planet below. Military installations around the globe went on high alert, and civilian communication networks exploded with activity. In a small town in the American Midwest, Dr. Samantha Chen, an astrophysicist working for SETI, stared at her computer screen in disbelief. She had been the first to notice the anomalies in their deep space scans, patterns that didn't match any known natural phenomena. Now, as she watched the alien ship reveal itself, she knew her life, and the lives of everyone on Earth, would never be the same. "Holy shit," she whispered, her fingers flying over her keyboard as she recorded every bit of data she could. "They're really here." Back on the Starweaver, Elazar prepared to address the humans. She had studied the protocols for first contact extensively, but she knew that theory and practice often differed greatly. As she composed herself, Vexera worked to decipher the barrage of transmissions coming from Earth. "Captain," Vexera reported, "I've managed to isolate what appears to be a primary communication channel. It's coming from a facility they call United Nations." Elazar nodded. "Put it through." The view screen flickered, and a human face appeared. The man looked both awed and terrified, his skin pale and beaded with sweat. He spoke, and the ship's universal translator kicked in. "This is Secretary General Antonio Vega of the United Nations, representing the people of Earth. We welcome you in peace." Elazar stepped forward, her bioluminescent patterns shifting to project calm and friendliness. "Greetings, people of Earth. I am Captain Elazar of the Zarkonian exploration vessel Starweaver. We come in peace and with curiosity about your world." The Secretary General visibly relaxed, though tension still lined his face. "We are honored by your visit, Captain Elazar. I must ask, what are your intentions?" "We are explorers and scientists," Elazar explained. "Our mission is to seek out new civilizations and expand our understanding of the universe. We wish to learn about your people and share knowledge." As the conversation continued, Dr. Samantha Chen was hastily ushered into a high-security government facility. Her expertise in xenobiology and astrophysics made her invaluable in this unprecedented situation. As she was briefed on the ongoing communication with the aliens, her mind raced with questions and possibilities. Dr. Chen, a stern-looking military officer, addressed her. "We need your analysis. Can we trust these aliens?" Samantha took a deep breath, her scientific training warring with the sheer wonder of the moment. "Based on their actions so far, they seem peaceful. But sir, the fact that they're here at all is incredible. Their technology must be centuries, maybe millennia beyond ours. If they wanted to harm us, they could have done so already." The officer nodded grimly. "That's what worries us. We're at their mercy." Back on the Starweaver, Elazar and her crew were equally fascinated by the humans. Their rapid technological progress, their diversity of cultures and languages, and their intense emotional responses were all subjects of great interest. "Captain," Krelthan reported, "I've been analyzing their global information network. It's chaotic, to say the least. But the wealth of data is staggering. Their scientific theories, while primitive in some areas, show remarkable insight in others." Elazar contemplated this. "It seems these humans are full of surprises. Vexera, extend an invitation to their leaders. I believe it's time we met face to face." As the invitation was transmitted, the response from Earth was a mix of excitement and fear. Governments argued over who should represent humanity. Scientists clamored for the opportunity to meet the aliens, and ordinary citizens alternated between celebration and panic. In the end, a diverse delegation was chosen: political leaders, scientists, and cultural representatives from various nations. Among them was Dr. Samantha Chen, whose unique insights had proven invaluable in the initial communications. As the human delegation prepared to board a shuttle that would take them to the Starweaver, Samantha felt a mix of terror and exhilaration. She glanced at her fellow delegates, seeing the same emotions mirrored on their faces. "Remember," the mission commander briefed them one last time, "we represent all of humanity now. Our actions here could determine the future of our entire species." Samantha nodded, clutching her tablet filled with scientific data and questions. As the shuttle lifted off, heading towards the alien ship hovering above the Earth, she couldn't help but feel that humanity was on the brink of its greatest adventure yet. Little did either species know that this meeting would set in motion a chain of events that would challenge both humans and Zarkonians, testing the limits of their understanding, their technology, and their very nature. The stage was set for a tale of discovery, conflict, and ultimately, the triumph of cooperation across the stars. The human element. The shuttle docked with the Starweaver, its sleek Earth-made design contrasting sharply with the organic, almost living appearance of the Zarkonian vessel. As the airlock cycled, Dr. Samantha Chen took a deep breath, steeling herself for the historic moment to come. The delegation of Earth's representatives stood in tense silence, a mix of politicians, scientists, and cultural ambassadors from various nations. As the door slid open, they were greeted by the alien sight of Captain Elazar and her senior crew. The Zarkonians towered over the humans, their bioluminescent exoskeletons pulsing with patterns of light that seemed to convey emotions and thoughts beyond mere words. "Welcome aboard the Starweaver," Elazar's melodious voice hummed, translated by devices provided to the human delegation. "We are honored to host representatives of Earth." The delegation's leader, United Nations Ambassador Lai Wei, stepped forward. "The honor is ours, Captain Elazar. We come in a spirit of peace and mutual learning." As formalities were exchanged, Samantha found herself locking eyes, or what she assumed were eyes, with the Zarkonian science officer, Krelthin. The alien's tentacles waved in what seemed to be a gesture of curiosity and welcome. The human delegation was led on a tour of the Starweaver, marveling at technology that seemed to blur the line between biology and machine. Samantha's scientific mind was in overdrive, noting details and forming hypotheses at a rapid pace. "Your ship," she couldn't help but ask Krelthin. "It seems almost alive. Is it grown rather than built?" Krelthin's bioluminescent patterns shifted in what Samantha interpreted as pleasure at the question. "Indeed, Dr. Chen. Our vessels are cultivated from specialized organisms, then augmented with technological components. It is a synthesis of nature and science." As the tour continued, the humans found themselves both awed and somewhat unsettled by the alien environment. Ambassador Lai Wei, ever the diplomat, engaged Captain Elazar in discussions about cultural exchange and the potential for cooperation between their species. However, not all members of the delegation were as open-minded. General Viktor Petrov, representing Earth's military interests, watched the proceedings with barely concealed suspicion. His hand never strayed far from the sidearm he'd been permitted to carry, a concession to human security concerns. "Tell me, Captain," Petrov interjected during a lull in the conversation, "what defenses does your ship possess? Purely out of professional curiosity, you understand." Elazar's antennae twitched, a sign of mild agitation that went unnoticed by most of the humans. "Our vessel is equipped with various systems for our protection, General. However, as we've stated, our mission is one of peace and exploration." The tension in the air was palpable, and Ambassador Lai quickly steered the conversation to less sensitive topics. As the tour concluded, the delegation was led to a conference room for more formal discussions. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the situation was growing increasingly complex. News of the alien visitation had spread globally, causing a mix of reactions. While many celebrated the dawn of a new era of interstellar relations, others viewed the Zarkonians with fear and suspicion. In the small Midwestern town where Dr. Chen had first detected the alien presence, a crowd had gathered outside the local SETI facility. Some held signs welcoming the aliens, while others protested against what they saw as a threat to humanity. Local Sheriff Jake Martinez struggled to maintain order. "Folks, please," he shouted over the din. "We need to stay calm and let the experts handle this." But the mood of the crowd was turning ugly. Suddenly, a rock flew through the air, shattering a window of the SETI building. As if a dam had broken, chaos erupted. Protesters clashed with each other and the police, their fear and excitement boiling over into violence. Similar scenes were playing out across the globe. In major cities, people alternated between celebration and panic buying. Stock markets fluctuated wildly as investors tried to predict the economic impact of first contact. Religious leaders scrambled to reconcile their doctrines with the reality of extraterrestrial life. Back on the Starweaver, the human delegation was oblivious to the growing unrest on their home planet. They were engrossed in discussions with the Zarkonians, exchanging information about their respective cultures, sciences, and histories. Dr. Chen found herself in an animated conversation with Krelthin about the nature of Zarkonian technology. "Your integration of biological and mechanical systems is incredible," she marveled. "It could revolutionize our approach to everything from medicine to space travel." Krelthin's tentacles waved in agreement. "Your species' ingenuity is equally impressive, Dr. Chen. Despite your limited resources, you've made remarkable progress in a short time. Your theoretical models in particular show great promise. As the scientific minds bonded over shared knowledge, Ambassador Lai and Captain Elazar were deep in negotiations about the terms of ongoing contact between their species. The diplomat in Lai recognized the immense potential benefits of cooperation with the advanced Zarkonians, but he was also acutely aware of the need to protect Earth's interests. "We are eager to learn from you," Lai said carefully, "but we must ensure that any exchange of knowledge or technology does not upset the balance on our world. Our species is still dealing with significant internal conflicts and inequalities." Elazar's bioluminescent patterns shifted in a way that the human translator interpreted as understanding. "We are familiar with such challenges in our own history," she replied. "Perhaps our experiences could offer insights to help your people overcome these obstacles." As the discussions continued, General Petrov grew increasingly agitated. The Zarkonians' advanced technology and apparent benevolence set him on edge. In his experience, there was always a catch, always an ulterior motive. He couldn't shake the feeling that Earth was being maneuvered into a vulnerable position. During a break in the talks, Petrov cornered Ambassador Lai in a quiet corridor. "We're exposing too much," he hissed. "These aliens could be gathering intelligence for an invasion. We need to be more guarded." Lai sighed, feeling the weight of his responsibility. "General, I understand your concerns, but we can't approach this historic opportunity with paranoia. The Zarkonians have shown no signs of hostility." "Yet," Petrov growled. "No signs of hostility yet." Their disagreement was interrupted by an urgent call from Earth. The unrest that had been building across the planet had reached a critical point. In several major cities, protests had turned into riots. Conspiracy theories about alien mind control and imminent invasion were spreading like wildfire across social media platforms. Ambassador Lai listened to the report with growing horror. The delicate first contact he had been orchestrating was in danger of being derailed by human fear and mistrust. He turned to Captain Elazar, who had approached upon seeing his distress. "Captain," Lai said, his voice trained, "I'm afraid we have a situation on Earth that requires our immediate attention. Our people are struggling to cope with the reality of your presence." Elazar's antennae drooped in what seemed to be concern. "We understand, Ambassador. Such revelations can be challenging for any species. How can we assist?" Lai was taken aback by the offer. He had expected the aliens to withdraw, to protect themselves from the chaos of human emotion. Instead, they were offering help. It was a moment that would be remembered in the annals of human history. "Perhaps," Lai suggested, thinking quickly, "a gesture of goodwill. A demonstration of your peaceful intentions that all our people can witness." As Elazar and Lai began to brainstorm ideas, Dr. Chen approached with an excited gleam in her eye. "Ambassador, Captain," she interjected, "I think I have an idea that could help. It's a bit unconventional, but it might just work." The others turned to her, curiosity piqued. As Samantha began to outline her plan, a spark of hope ignited. Perhaps, just perhaps, the unpredictability and creativity of humanity, the very qualities that had caused such chaos, could also be the key to forging a lasting bond with their new alien friends. Little did they know that this moment of crisis and opportunity would set the stage for even greater challenges to come. The true test of the budding relationship between humans and Zarkonians was just beginning, and the fate of both species would hang in the balance. Crisis point. Dr. Samantha Chen's plan was as brilliant as it was audacious. With the support of both Ambassador Lai and Captain Elazar, a global broadcast was quickly arranged. The goal was to show humanity the true nature of the Zarkonians and dispel the growing fears and misconceptions. As billions tuned in across the planet, Samantha stood beside Krelithan, facing an array of cameras that would transmit their image to every corner of Earth. The human scientist and the alien researcher began a dialogue, explaining complex scientific concepts and demonstrating the potential benefits of cooperation between their species. "What we're witnessing here," Samantha explained to the camera, her eyes alight with excitement, is not just first contact, but a chance to leap forward in our understanding of the universe. The Zarkonians' knowledge of bioengineering alone could revolutionize our approach to medicine, potentially curing diseases we thought incurable. Krelfin's tentacles waved in agreement, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing in harmony with Samantha's words. Likewise, he added, his words translated for the global audience, we are fascinated by human creativity and adaptability. Your species' ability to think outside the box, as you say, offers fresh perspectives on problems we've grappled with for centuries. The broadcast seemed to be having the desired effect. Social media exploded with positive reactions, and the riots in major cities began to calm as people were captivated by the potential of this new relationship. However, not everyone was convinced. In the depths of the internet, conspiracy theories continued to spread. Some claimed the broadcast was faked, others that the human representatives had been mind-controlled. The seeds of distrust, once planted, proved difficult to uproot entirely. As the days passed, the situation on Earth stabilized somewhat, but tensions remained high. The Starweaver remained in orbit, a constant reminder of the new reality humanity faced. Governments around the world scrambled to adapt to this paradigm shift, creating new departments and policies to deal with extraterrestrial relations. Meanwhile, on board the Starweaver, the human delegation continued their discussions with the Zarkonians. Dr. Chen and Krelfin had formed a close working relationship, excitedly exchanging ideas and conducting joint experiments in the ship's advanced laboratories. It was during one of these experiments that disaster struck. Samantha and Krelfin were working on integrating Zarkonian biotechnology with human DNA, hoping to develop new treatments for genetic diseases. As they initiated a trial run, alarms suddenly blared throughout the lab. "What's happening?" Samantha shouted over the noise, her heart racing. Krelfin's tentacles flailed in distress as he examined the readouts. The integration process has triggered an unexpected reaction. It's replicating out of control. Before they could contain it, the experimental substance had escaped its containment field. It spread rapidly, consuming everything in its path and growing at an alarming rate. The lab's emergency protocols kicked in, sealing off the affected area. But it was clear that the substance was adapting, evolving in ways neither human nor Zarkonian science had anticipated. Captain Elazar's voice came over the ship's communication system, tense but controlled. "All personnel, evacuate to emergency stations immediately." This is not a drill. As Samantha and Krelfin were rushed to a secure area, they watched in horror as the rapidly evolving biomass continued to spread through the ship's systems. The Starweaver, being partly biological itself, was particularly vulnerable to this threat. "We need to warn Earth," Samantha gasped, realizing the potential danger if the substance reached the planet. Ambassador Lai, who had joined them in the secure area, nodded grimly. "I'll contact our governments immediately. But what do we tell them? We barely understand what's happening ourselves." On the bridge, Captain Elazar faced the most difficult decision of her career. The safety protocols were clear. In the event of a severe biological contamination, the ship must be quarantined to protect other worlds. But quarantine meant remaining in Earth orbit, potentially putting the planet at risk if they couldn't contain the threat. As if the situation wasn't dire enough, long-range sensors picked up an anomaly. A massive solar flare was building on the sun, one that threatened to release a coronal mass ejection directly towards Earth. If it hit, it could devastate the planet's electronic infrastructure, potentially sending human civilization back decades. The Starweaver's advanced shields could protect Earth from the worst of the solar event, but with the spreading biomass compromising the ship's systems, they couldn't guarantee they'd be able to maintain those shields. General Petrov, who had been watching the unfolding chaos with a mix of vindication and terror, saw an opportunity. "We need to destroy the alien ship," he argued to the other human representatives. "It's the only way to be sure this thing doesn't reach Earth. We can't risk the fate of our entire species on the hope that they'll contain it." Ambassador Lai was aghast. We can't just abandon them. They came in peace, and we owe them our help. Not to mention, we need their ship to protect us from the solar flare." As arguments raged among the humans, the Zarkonians worked tirelessly to find a solution. Krelfin, feeling responsible for the accident, pushed himself to the brink of exhaustion, analyzing the evolving biomass and searching for a way to stop its growth. Samantha, torn between her loyalty to humanity and her newfound bond with the Zarkonians, found herself in the middle of the conflict. She knew that the combined knowledge of both species was their best hope for survival, but convincing everyone to work together in the face of such danger seemed an almost impossible task. The situation reached a boiling point when a group of human soldiers, led by one of General Petrov's loyal officers, attempted to seize control of the Starweaver's weapon systems. Their plan was to use the alien technology to destroy the infected parts of the ship, regardless of the cost to the Zarkonian crew. As alarms blared and chaos reigned, Captain Ilazar's voice cut through the din. "Enough," she bellowed, her usual melodious tones replaced by a commanding resonance that stopped everyone in their tracks. "We face a threat that endangers us all," Ilazar continued, addressing both her crew and the human delegation. "If we turn against each other now, we are surely doomed. Our only hope lies in cooperation, in combining the strengths of both our species." Her words hung in the air, carrying the weight of truth. In that moment, humans and Zarkonians alike realized that their fates were inextricably linked. The challenges they faced, the evolving biomass, the impending solar flare, and their own fears and mistrust, could only be overcome together. Samantha stepped forward, her voice shaky but determined. "Captain Ilazar is right. We need to pool our knowledge, our skills, and our resources. Humans have a long history of coming together in times of crisis, of achieving the impossible when our backs are against the wall. And the Zarkonians have scientific knowledge beyond our wildest dreams. Together, we might just have a chance." As her words sank in, a change came over the assembled group. The hostility and fear began to fade, replaced by a sense of shared purpose. Even General Petrov, though still wary, recognized the truth in Samantha's words. Ambassador Lai, seizing the moment, turned to Captain Ilazar. "What do you need from us, Captain? How can we help?" Elazar's bioluminescent patterns shifted in what Samantha now recognized as determination. "We need to form mixed teams, human and Zarkonian scientists, engineers, and problem solvers. We must tackle this threat from multiple angles, combining our unique perspectives and abilities." As the teams began to form, a spark of hope ignited amidst the crisis. The path ahead was fraught with danger, the challenges seemingly insurmountable. But in this moment of cooperation, both species glimpsed a future of incredible potential, if only they could survive the present. With time running out, the biomass still spreading, and the solar flare approaching, the newly formed human Zarkonian teams raced against the clock. The fate of two species, and potentially the entire Earth, hung in the balance. The true test of this fledgling alliance was about to begin. Unlikely alliance. The Starweaver's main laboratory had been transformed into a hive of frantic activity. Humans and Zarkonians worked side by side, their differences forgotten in the face of impending doom. Dr. Samantha Chen found herself at the center of it all, coordinating efforts between the two species and pushing the boundaries of both human and Zarkonian science. "The biomass is adapting faster than we can analyze it," Krelfin reported, his tentacles moving in agitated patterns over his control panel. "It's as if it's learning from every attempt we make to stop it." Samantha nodded, her mind racing. "It's behaving almost like a complex adaptive system," she mused. Then, a spark of inspiration hit her. "Wait, that's it. We've been approaching this all wrong. We're not dealing with a simple organism or even a complex one. We're dealing with an entire evolving ecosystem." The realization sent ripples through the assembled team. Captain Ilazar, who had been overseeing the efforts, tilted her head in curiosity. "Explain, Dr. Chen. How does this change our approach? Samantha's eyes lit up with excitement despite the dire circumstances. Instead of trying to destroy the biomass, we need to guide its evolution. We need to introduce elements that will cause it to evolve in a direction that's harmless or even beneficial. The idea was radical, a blend of human out-of-the-box thinking and Zarkonian advanced biotechnology. As the scientists debated the merits and risks of the plan, Ambassador Lai and General Petrov entered the lab, their faces grim. "We've just received word from Earth," Lai announced. "The solar flare is accelerating. We have less than 6 hours before it hits." The news sent a chill through the room. Petrov, his earlier hostility tempered by the gravity of the situation, turned to Captain Elazar. "Can your ship's shields protect Earth?" Elazar's bioluminescent patterns pulsed with concern. "In normal circumstances, yes. But with our systems compromised by the biomass, I cannot guarantee it. We need more power." A young human engineer, who had been quietly listening to the exchange, suddenly spoke up. "What if we could boost the power? Use the Earth's own magnetic field to amplify the ship's shields." The Zarkonians looked at the human with a mixture of surprise and interest. Captain Elazar gestured for the engineer to continue. "Well," the engineer said, gaining confidence, "if we could create a resonance between the Earth's magnetosphere and the ship's shield harmonics, we might be able to create a planet-wide protective bubble. It's just a theory, but it's brilliant," Krelthin exclaimed, his tentacles waving excitedly. "With some modifications to our shield generators, it could work. But we'd need a way to coordinate with ground-based stations on Earth." Ambassador Lai stepped forward. "Leave that to me. I'll coordinate with the UN to get every major observatory and radio telescope aligned to your specifications." As the team split to tackle the dual threats of the evolving biomass and the approaching solar flare, a new sense of purpose filled the air. Humans and Zarkonians alike were pushing themselves to the limit, each bringing their unique strengths to bear on the problems at hand. In one corner of the lab, Samantha and Krelthin worked tirelessly on their plan to guide the biomass's evolution. They introduced carefully calculated genetic sequences, nudging the organism towards a symbiotic relationship with the ship rather than a parasitic one. "Look," Samantha exclaimed after hours of work. "The growth rate is slowing, and the new generations are showing signs of bioluminescence similar to the ship's natural patterns." Krelthin's own bioluminescence pulsed with excitement. "Remarkable. It's as if the biomass is trying to communicate with the ship now, rather than consume it." Across the room, the human engineer worked with a team of Zarkonian technicians to modify the shield generators. Their progress was visible through the viewport, where shimmering waves of energy began to dance between the ship and the Earth's atmosphere. General Petrov, who had been coordinating with military and scientific installations on Earth, approached the group with a rare smile on his face. "Ground stations are reporting successful linkage with the shield harmonics. We're seeing a 200% increase in overall coverage." A cheer went up around the lab, human and Zarkonian voices blending in a moment of shared triumph. But their celebration was short-lived as Captain Elazar's voice cut through the noise. "The solar flare has released its coronal mass ejection," she announced, her tone urgent. "Impact in 30 minutes. All hands, prepare for emergency procedures." The next half hour was a blur of activity. On Earth, populations in high-risk areas were ushered into shelters. Satellites were put into safe modes, and power grids were fortified as much as possible in the short time available. Aboard the Starweaver, Samantha, Krelthin, and their team made final adjustments to the biomass's genetic structure, hoping their calculations were correct. The engineer and his Zarkonian counterparts fine-tuned the shield resonance, pushing the systems to their limits. As the countdown reached its final minutes, an eerie calm settled over the ship. Humans and Zarkonians stood side by side, watching the approaching wall of solar plasma on their view screens. In this moment, the differences between their species seemed insignificant in the face of the cosmic drama unfolding before them. 10 seconds to impact. Eleazar's voice rang out. Samantha felt a gentle touch on her arm. She looked down to see one of Krelthan's tentacles wrapped reassuringly around her wrist. She smiled at her alien friend, grateful for his presence. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The view screen blazed with blinding light as the coronal mass ejection struck the outer layers of Earth's atmosphere. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed as if the combined shields might fail under the onslaught. The ship shuddered, systems flickering as they were pushed to their absolute limits. But then, something extraordinary happened. The evolved biomass, now integrated with the ship's systems, began to pulse with energy. It seemed to draw strength from the solar storm, channeling the excess power and reinforcing the shields. Incredible, Krelthan whispered. It's not just symbiotic, it's protective. As the initial wave of the solar storm passed, cheers erupted both on the ship and from the communications channels linked to Earth. The shields had held. Billions of lives had been saved by the combined efforts of two very different species. In the aftermath, as the adrenaline began to fade, humans and Zarkonians alike found themselves looking at each other with new eyes. The crisis had forged bonds of trust and respect that would have taken years to develop under normal circumstances. Ambassador Lai, his voice thick with emotion, addressed the gathered crowd. Today, we have witnessed the birth of a true alliance. In our darkest hour, we discovered that our differences are not obstacles, but strengths. Together, we have achieved the impossible. Captain Eleazar's bioluminescent patterns glowed with warm colors as she added, "This is but the beginning. The challenges we overcame today have opened new avenues of research, new possibilities for both our species. The future, it seems, is brighter than we ever imagined." As the immediate danger passed and the work of understanding their new discoveries began, a palpable sense of optimism filled the air. Humans and Zarkonians had not only survived, but had laid the groundwork for a partnership that could reshape the galaxy. Yet, as Samantha looked out at the Earth, beautiful and blue against the backdrop of space, she couldn't help but wonder, what new adventures and challenges awaited them in this brave new era of interstellar cooperation? The journey, it seemed, was only just beginning. Triumph of unity. In the weeks following the averted crisis, Earth buzzed with a new energy. The successful collaboration between humans and Zarkonians had captured the imagination of people around the globe. News channels ran constant coverage of the events. Social media overflowed with discussions and memes about our new alien allies, and governments worldwide scrambled to adapt to this new paradigm of interstellar relations. Dr. Samantha Chen found herself at the center of it all. As one of the key figures in the crisis resolution, she had become an overnight celebrity. She stood at a podium in the United Nations General Assembly, addressing representatives from every nation on Earth. The challenges we faced aboard the Starweaver taught us an invaluable lesson, Samantha said, her voice carrying across the hushed chamber. Our strength lies not in our individual capabilities, but in our ability to work together, to combine our unique perspectives and skills in the face of adversity. In the audience, Ambassador Lai nodded approvingly, while General Petrov, his previous skepticism replaced by grudging respect, listened attentively. Captain Eleazar and Krelthan, honored guests at this historic session, stood out with their bioluminescent patterns pulsing gently in the sea of human faces. The Zarkonian bioengineering techniques, combined with human creativity and adaptability, have opened up new frontiers in science and medicine, Samantha continued. The evolved biomass that once threatened to destroy the Starweaver has become a cornerstone of a new field of adaptive biotechnology. Early trials suggest it could revolutionize everything from space travel to environmental restoration. Murmurs of excitement rippled through the assembly. The potential applications were staggering, promising solutions to some of humanity's most pressing problems. But perhaps even more important than the technological advancements, Samantha said, her voice softening, is the bridge we've built between our species. We've proven that despite our differences, in biology, in culture, in our very way of thinking, We can find common ground. We can learn from each other, grow together, and face the challenges of the universe as allies. As Samantha concluded her speech to thunderous applause, the Secretary General took the podium. "We are here today to ratify the Earth-Zoria Cooperation Treaty," he announced. "This historic document will formalize our alliance, setting the framework for scientific exchange, cultural understanding, and mutual defense." The vote was unanimous. As the treaty was signed, humans and Zarkonians alike felt the weight of the moment. This was more than just diplomacy. It was the dawn of a new era for both species. Outside the UN building, crowds had gathered to watch the proceedings on large screens. As news of the treaty's ratification spread, cheers erupted. People hugged strangers in the street, swept up in the euphoria of the moment. For the first time in human history, the peoples of Earth were truly united, bound together by their shared experience with their new alien allies. In the following months, the effects of the alliance began to ripple across human society. The first joint human-Zarkonian research facilities were established, tackling problems from climate change to interstellar travel. The evolved biomass, now nicknamed Stardust, showed promise in cleaning up pollution, regenerating damaged ecosystems, and even in medical applications, repairing injuries and curing diseases once thought incurable. Cultural exchange programs flourished. Zarkonian art, with its bioluminescent sculptures and multidimensional music, fascinated human audiences. In return, Zarkonians found themselves captivated by human literature, music, and philosophy. The exchange of ideas led to new forms of artistic expression that blended elements from both cultures. Education systems around the world were revolutionized to incorporate knowledge of extraterrestrial life and advanced sciences. Children grew up learning about both human and Zarkonian history, dreaming of a future among the stars. 1 year after the crisis, a ceremony was held to inaugurate the first joint human-Zarkonian space station. Positioned at the Earth-Moon Lagrange point, it served as a symbol of the alliance and a stepping stone to further space exploration. As the station came online, its systems powered up with a soft hum. Dr. Samantha Chen stood in the control room, surrounded by a mix of human and Zarkonian colleagues. Her friend Krelthan was at her side, his tentacles dancing over the controls with practiced ease. "Activating the Stardust Enhanced Life Support Systems," Krelthan announced. The walls of the station shimmered with a soft, bioluminescent glow, the evolved biomass now an integral part of the structure. Samantha smiled, remembering how close they had come to disaster, and how that very threat had led to this moment of triumph. She turned to the viewport, gazing out at the Earth below. From up here, there were no borders, no divisions, just a beautiful blue marble suspended in the vastness of space. Captain Elazar's voice came over the communication system. "Station Harmony, this is the Starweaver. We're detecting optimal life support readings. Congratulations on a successful activation." "Thank you, Starweaver," Samantha replied. "None of this would have been possible without you and your crew." As she spoke, she noticed something on the long-range sensors. "Captain, are you seeing this? There's some kind of anomaly at the edge of the solar system." There was a pause before Elazar responded, her voice tinged with excitement. "We see it, Dr. Chen. Initial readings suggest it might be a wormhole. Stable, from what we can tell." The control room burst into excited chatter. A stable wormhole could revolutionize space travel, opening up vast new regions of the galaxy for exploration. "Well," Samantha said, exchanging a look with Krelthan, "it seems the universe has a new adventure in store for us." As the team began preparations to investigate this new phenomenon, Samantha felt a sense of profound optimism. The alliance between humans and Zarkonians had already achieved so much, overcoming crises and pushing the boundaries of science. Whatever challenges this new discovery might bring, she was confident they would face them together. The story of humanity had entered a new chapter. No longer alone in the universe, they had found not just allies, but friends among the stars. As Earth and Zoria moved forward together, the future seemed brighter than ever, filled with endless possibilities and the promise of discoveries beyond imagination. In the vastness of space, two species that had once been strangers now stood united, ready to explore the cosmic wonders awaiting them. The triumph of their unity had not just saved them from disaster, it had opened the door to a future more extraordinary than either humans or Zarkonians had ever dared to dream.